Hello and welcome to FPL Have a Beer, where I invite you to have a beer with me. Although today we're recording this quite early on a Sunday afternoon, I'm on a Pepsi Max. While I talk about FPL, please like if you enjoy the video, and please to subscribe to support the channel. I would really appreciate it. So welcome to another interview in the FPL Meet the Manager, Meet the Content Creator series, where I invite one of our lovely FPL managers, content creators, to join me while I ask them about their experiences of content creation, their thoughts on FPL and mental health, and we have a general chat about FPL towards the end. So the 15th interview in this series, we have FPL Nightmare, aka Andrew. Andrew, it's a pleasure to have you on. I first became aware of you only a couple of months ago when you got shouted out on FPL Black Box. And I should also say thanks to those lads because they shouted me out the following week. It's quite a weird experience, isn't it, being shouted out in one of your favourite podcasts?
Yeah, it is. It's like you don't really ever get used to that. Well, certainly not for me. It's just new. Maybe you do get used to it when you get like to a bigger level. But
yeah, well, I think we're at a similar level, mate. I'm still not used to anything like that. So I'm delighted to have you on the channel, mate. I watched some of your videos pretty much straight away after that Black Box episode ended, and I'm a big fan. So I messaged you almost straight away to ask you if you come on, and you did. So I'm delighted to have you on. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. A bit tired because I did a 24-hour shift yesterday, so finished at this. Yeah, well, I'm a care worker and I do 24-hour shifts like twice a week. So it's quite good for me because it means I get all my hours in like 2 days. But
so that's right.
It is quite tiring.
You do the 24 hours and you have that's it, and then you have the rest 24 hours. You have the rest of the week off.
Yeah, I normally do like 24 hours on a Tuesday and then alternate Thursdays and Saturdays. So I've got the rest of the week to myself really, and part of it's a sleepover as well, so it's not too bad.
Still pretty hardcore, I bet, though, when you're doing
it. This would normally be my nap time now, but
well, I'm delighted you have agreed to join us during your nap time.
No, I'm glad to be invited. Thank you very much.
So usually, Matt, I know you've watched a few interviews. I just start off with like a few general things, like where did you grow up? I always messed up and say where do you live as if I'm trying to stalk someone.
Hunt me down.
Where did you grow up? Who do you support? And I'm excited that I've got a fellow Newcastle supporter for this one. And what are your first memories of football? Just stuff like that.
Right, well, I was born in Hexham in the northeast. It's about 20 miles from Newcastle. And I moved to Cumbria, where I live now, when I was 7, so 33 years ago.
Where's Cumbria, mate? I'm terrible at geography.
It's northwest. You've got Newcastle in the northeast, and then Cumbria's like across the way.
So you got tons of snow there at the minute.
Yeah, we do. My bus wasn't running this morning, so I had to give my mum a ring to get a lift. So I work 3 miles out of town, so it's a bit not ideal really for that, but you know.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was Newcastle fan, like you've said, and I was quite lucky really because when I was starting to get into football, it was obviously the height of Keegan mania.
Yep, same here.
Yeah, just taken over at Newcastle, and then he kind of swept the region, and like everyone was just caught up in it. It was unbelievable.
So tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Turn this too much into just us talking about Newcastle, but I do want to talk a bit about Newcastle because I got in the 95-96 season, so I was a bit into the Keegan era. But when he originally took over, they were in the first division, weren't they? And then they...
Yes, that's right. It was the Championship now, and we were on the verge of relegation to what's now League One, which would have left us bankrupt. And then, Kevin Keegan took over, saved us. He signed Brian Kilcline. I don't know if you know Brian Kilcline.
That's a bit beyond me.
There's some good interviews with him, worth hunting down. He's quite a character. But he came in and tightened up the defence, and then David Kelly scored the goal against Leicester to keep us up. And then after that, it was just takeoff.
Yeah. You know? Was what's his name? John Hall. Was he in charge when Keegan first took over? Is it John Hall, the one who gave us all the money to spend?
Yeah.
Was he in charge even then?
Yeah, he was. I've read a lot of books of the subject and stuff, and he famously rang Kevin Keegan when Newcastle was struggling. Kevin Keegan was on the golf course in Spain.
Right.
And he goes, "Oh, Kev, there's two people that can save Newcastle United right now, and they're both talking on this phone call." Well, I would have signed for him right there. Like.
Yeah, that's a bit of a confidence boost, isn't it? Yeah. I was talking, I mean, I won't bore people because this video's probably going to come out straight after the last one with Yelena, but she asked me last night, because I'm a Newcastle supporter, and I had to tell her the story of how I supported Newcastle as I was basically a terrible glory hunter.
Newcastle,
Yeah, Newcastle instead of Man U, but we've got a true, can I call you a Geordie?
You can do.
Is that accurate?
I don't feel like a Geordie, but all my mates call me the Geordie boy. Like so.
you got this.
Say I don't have the accent.
You got the skinhead as well, like that. What's his name? True Geordie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a character, isn't he?
He is, yeah, in more ways than one. Awesome. And what are your first memories of it? Would that be Newcastle then?
Yeah, Newcastle. My first memories. My first hero in football was obviously Kevin Keegan.
Yeah,
and he kind of he's had a big impact on my life in more ways than just the football. He's like really kind of influenced how I look at life.
Okay.
Keegan was a big dreamer. Like there's this famous quote of his in George Corkin, the North East journalist, got off him, and he's like, "I want people to dream about the football team. They all should. We should all be dreamers at heart. Some people look at it and say you can't do that, and they can never explain why. Well, I say to them, why not?
Yeah,
and that's sort of like the daring to dream kind of philosophy is one that, rightly or wrongly, good or bad, has influenced me. Like quite a lot, and so yeah, I owe a lot to Kevin Keegan in that sense. I met him a few years ago. That was a really surreal experience.
What's he up to now?
Just a dinner circuit after dinner circuit.
Right, okay, yeah.
So, but yeah, we paid for the VIP, so there was like 10 of us in a room with him, and I couldn't say a word. I was just clammed up there. Oh man, it's just just so like larger than life character right in front of you, and like everybody else just talking normal to him. I was like, how are you talking like this? This is King Kev.
He's got a really engaging way I like talking, isn't he? Like one of those things just like brings you on board as he's talking, doesn't he? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, apparently before they won what's now the championship, I was reading, I think maybe Rob Lee's book, I can't remember, and he pulled him aside and goes, "Oh, Rob, just so you know, like I'm hyping up everyone on the team, but you're my secret weapon this season." And then later on at the end of the season, it turned out he'd done that to every single player in the squad. So it's quite good. But yeah, I mean, I've got a few early memories of football. Andy Cole, I think he's underrated. I think he's one of the greatest strikers this country's ever seen, and I think he's overlooked quite a lot probably because he didn't have the international recognition. But like, what a legend he was.
Do you remember that quote that I think it affected a lot of the way people saw him? I think it was Glenn Hoddle said, Michael Owen only needs 2 chances to score and Andy Cole needs 5, and that kind of stuck with him for the rest of his career in terms of the perception of him by other people.
Yeah, definitely. But I think what a lot of people maybe overlooked in that is that Andy Cole was good enough to get in the position to get them 5 chances a game, whereas a lot of other people, like Chris Wood, he's doing well this season. He's having 2 shots a game.
God, yeah, Chris Wood. I can't believe. What did he scored 1 goal for us, didn't he, or something when we had him?
Yeah, something like that.
And then he's turned into bloody Messi.
Yeah, I think he's scored more goals for Nottingham Forest at St James's Park than he did for Newcastle. It's crazy, but
where would you put Shearer in your list of heroes?
Oh, right up there. I've got like a picture of him on my wall in my corridor.
So yeah, I've got a few statues.
Love the bloke.
I've got a statue of him somewhere. I think it's up in the attic.
Yeah, but do you know? I don't know if he'd be in my all-time Newcastle Premier League 11, and it's because of Andy Cole.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's like how do you set up the team? Do you go for the best players or do you go for the best partnership? Because I've not seen anything like Beardsley and Cole.
Yeah, true.
63 goals are combined for that season, which is just.
I mean, sure, he did have an all right
ridiculous.
partnership with Ferdinand. I remember everyone saying that wouldn't work, but then ended up scoring like 50 or goals.
50 goals, I think. Yeah. Oh, they were. That was special, like. But,
yeah. Maybe we'll have to do another video on Newcastle. Newcastle 11.
A bit too much.
So usually we'll go on to talk a bit about your content creation experience. So I'll just be honest. I mean, I've said this to you, Andrew, to the viewers. Is obviously you've only had a YouTube channel which has only been running for since the start of the season, I think. But you do have a long history in terms of making FPL content. In terms of you've written 4 books. Now, I'll be completely honest. I don't know much about these books at all. So maybe you could just talk us through the books, what they're about, and then if there's any link, what led to you then creating the YouTube channel this year?
Yeah, well, I don't think you're the only one that hasn't read the books because they didn't sell very well.
Oh, right, okay.
But that's par for the course. Well, I've got 4 books. One of them isn't about FPL. It's more about mental health, so maybe talk about that a bit later.
Mm-hmm.
That's called Dancing with Disorder, and I think it's fantastic. So
available on Amazon and all good bookshops, is it? Yeah.
Well, just Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm all self-published, like, so.
Okay.
I quite like the punk aspect of it, the do-it-yourself kind of thing. And I'm not really one for like pitching myself to people a lot of the time and like spending months trying to hunt things down. I need that instant gratification, really.
Well, I guess leads well into YouTube as well, I guess. Isn't it?
Well, yeah. But the FPL books, what it started off as a blog. I'm just getting my notes up on my screen here. So I started off playing FPL. I'll go back to that. I started off playing FPL around 2013, 2014, that season.
Sorry, mate. I've completely missed the whole questions about asking you about FPL. Sorry, mate. I should have asked.
You're all right. I could work.
So
that's how I got started in FPL. My mate was like, "Oh, you should play this game," and I think I'd had a random season a couple of years before and not really like got into it.
Sorry, mate. You might have said what year was this?
I think the first one was like maybe 2010 or 2011.
Okay.
But I didn't really get into it. Like, I lost interest quite quickly. And then 2013, 14, my mates were like going on and on. I'm like, right, I'm going to have a go at this just for my mates, really. But I didn't really take it that seriously, didn't really get into it. And then they both hammered me. This is, if you watch my videos, Jock and Jeeves and King Ding, they go by my videos. They both hammered me, and I thought, right, I can't let this stand there. I'm going to have to start giving it a proper go. So I came back, and it took years. Like, I just could not get my head around the game at all. And then in 2019, I think it was March 2019, I joined the FPL community on Twitter. And that's when I started taking it a bit more seriously and like getting my head around the strategies and stuff. I remember when the chips first came out, and I didn't really think about double game weeks or anything like that. It was like the trip.
It's weird, Andrew, because I mean, they're getting better at it, but actual FPL, if you just literally go on the FPL site, they have very little to guide you, do they? They're getting a bit better now, but certainly back in the day, you had to go outside of FPL to get information because it just wasn't really there, was there?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit the same with the assistant manager chip. I don't think the casuals are going to get the heads around that at all. The trips the first time, triple captain trip. Thought, this is it. This is the one. And Newcastle had Sunderland in the derby, so I spent months going on at my mates. This is when I'm using that. I'm giving it to Mitrovic for the derby. It's going to be the Mitrovic massacre, I said. Months every week. This is it. Mitrovic is coming. Mitrovic is going to absolutely smash this triple captainship. And then he got like 2 points or something. And that was the end of that season. But so 2019, I joined the FPL community on Twitter and started learning more of the nuances of the chips and the strategy, and like simple things like wildcarding before a bench boost, and the things you don't really think of when you're not taking the game that seriously. And yeah, I just, because my mates kept beating me every year, I thought, right, how can I save some face here? And I thought, I know, I'll write a blog about what a disaster this game is and how terrible I am at the game. Hence the FPL nightmare, because the nightmare was that I couldn't beat my mates and they were embarrassing me every season. And I just wanted to make them laugh, and it seemed to work. And then my mate King Ding, he set me the challenge, because I was saying, I'm gonna.
So it's a bit like the attitude: if you can't beat them, make them laugh, like the bullies at school or something.
Yeah, a bit like that. Not that my mates are bullies.
No, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. So I thought if I make these over the top blogs, like proper emphasizing how miserable it makes us, it'll be quite funny. And like, if I can't beat them in the next season, I'm going to retire, and then retire from FPL forever. And then King Ding goes, "Oh, you can't just quit like that. How can you quit without beating us?" And then he set the challenge. I had to win our mini league, which is the League of Gentlemen. I had to win the League of Gentlemen before I could retire from the game. So I started the blog of the FPL Nightmare blog, which was basically what the videos are.
So I was going to ask about League of Gentlemen. What's the inspiration for that league name? And also, is it just mates or is it work league or?
I don't know the inspiration because it's my mate's mini league.
Oh, okay.
So I've just kind of gone along with it. Jock and Jews started the league. He's the admin. So it's quite funny because if people say, "Oh, can I join the league?" I just say, "I don't have the code, mate. You have to ask Steve." And it's mainly people we know, and there's like a few random waifs and strays we've picked up along the way somehow. So
yeah.
But I find the more people there is that I don't know in it, the less fun it is.
Yeah.
And the harder it is to make the content as well, because it's like I can have banter with my mates. I rip them a bit sometimes, but it feels weird doing that with people I don't know. So like,
yeah, I've been at university leagues because I'm a lecturer, and then like I'll be in a small league with like 8 of my colleagues. We're in the office, but then there's like a whole university league with like 100 people in it, and I'm like, I have actually won it once, and I was like, well, I can't wind any of these people up. I don't know who the fuck they are.
Well, that's it. Like it's hard to have the same sort of banter with people that you don't know, and you can't even find them on Facebook to like get them to join the group and have a bit of crack with them that way. Conversely, there's a few people that have joined the league that I've actually become on good terms with because of it. So it can go both ways, but. I do prefer a smaller mini league where I can, for selfish reasons for my content, like. So yeah. Anyway, I started doing the blogs once a week, like kind of like a game week review, kind of a bit of a preview. If you've seen my videos, it was kind of the same sort of thing, but in a written form, which doesn't perhaps come across as well as you might imagine, because like I feel the music and the visuals make a big. And the tone.
You got a great voice as well, mate, for doing it.
I end up with a sore throat after recording, like put a bit of bass in my voice and whatnot. But so I started doing the blog, and then at the end of the season, I'd looked into self-publishing, and I thought I might as well compile them all into a book, and then if anybody wants it, it's like a keepsake, it's there. And then so I did that, and then obviously I didn't win the league that season. So the second season, it was in the back of my mind that I would be building towards the book. So it kind of affects how you write as well, because you leave more cliffhangers.
So is it one season per book then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's three FPL books, and they cover a 3-season span. And they're quite good. Like, it's quite interesting I would say you'd have to be a bit of a hardcore fan to enjoy most of them, because it's quite good for that kind of weekly, like the ups and downs of the FPL manager, and the great game weeks and how they can like give you that boost, and then the bad game weeks where you're not quite so enjoying it. But halfway through the second season, I was ranked 4.8 million in the world. It was just going horrible. And it's only a couple of decisions that can have such an impact as well. You don't have the right player at the right time, and everybody else does, and then you plummet in the rankings.
Yeah, it can be like I've had it. I had my worst start of the season. You make that one change, and then you lose 0.2 million, and then you can't get to that player, and it's only one difference to begin with, but it piles up, doesn't it? Like cumulatively,
yeah,
and all of a sudden, you're like 5 million.
And then you kind of double down a bit, and you're like, well, I don't need him. I'm going to find a different way. Then you start insulting people. Oh, you're all boring. You don't know what you're doing. You just copy the herd and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, maybe if I just did a bit more of that, I'd do well there. But that second season was quite important because it made me kind of reassess how I played the game, because I used to take a lot of hits. I'd panic a lot, and I'd take a lot of hits to get the right players in, and then you just end up losing so many points you can't overcome it.
Yeah, I had one season. I think my second season was like that, and that was my worst season. I think I was 300 odd thousand, and I reckon I think I figured out I took 50 points of hits, and if I hadn't taken them, I'd have been like nearly 100,000 or something like that.
Yeah. And it's just you're just giving yourself obstacles every week, and it's not good strategy really.
No.
So at the end of that second season, like at the end of each book, I do like kind of like like an overview of like what's happened and what's gonna happen. And then like I need to change my strategy. So I came up with this new master plan, which was the end of the second book. And then the third book was about implementing the master plans. So it was like I had Harvey Barnes when he played for Leicester, and he was a good litmus test because he started the season terribly. It was just 2 points every week. And every week I'd be like, I need to get rid of him. But there was always somebody else I had to sell.
So what was your what was part of the master plan that applies to Harvey Barnes?
Stop taking hits, basically. Taking hits, right, yeah. But like more planning and all that sort of thing.
Be patient.
Patience, yeah. So I used him as the test. Like the old me would have taken the hit and got rid of Harvey Barnes and maybe got more points. But, if you start thinking of transfers as being 4 points, then whoever I had to replace Harvey Barnes with would have had to basically score or get an assist to make it worth it. And like, so basically every week I kept him was like, to me, it was an assist in the bank because I wasn't taking that hit.
Yeah.
So,
it's a good way to look at it.
And then I think it came across at one point, he was first on my bench, and then he got 19 points in a game week, and I thought, this is typical, this. How does this happen? And then, lo and behold, one of my players didn't play, and then I got that 19 points off the bench, and it kind of felt like it justified the whole strategy just for that 19 points. So, I kept on going, and I did quite well that season. I finished inside the top 10K.
Nice.
9,394th. I'll always remember that because Newcastle's first season in the Premiership, 93-94. So
did you win the League of Legends?
Yeah. I smashed them all. Smashed them all by 90 points. But there was a heart-stopping moment as well because there was I'd played my wild card and then I'd set my team and then I'd gone to sleep from my nap and woke up after the deadline and I hadn't pressed save team.
Oh, no.
So I ended up with Pookie starting and Cristiano Ronaldo third sub. And of course, like Ronaldo scores 12 points and Pookie got 2 points. And it's like, if I lose this league title by 9 points after that happened, I thought I'm never playing the game again. But it didn't matter in the end. So it was quite good, really. But, it goes to show these things happen over the season. You shouldn't get too downhearted over them because, the odd 10 points here or there doesn't really make that much difference over 38 game weeks.
My favourite bit of I've told you that you're in a tier list. You've got S tier, which gonna come out a few weeks before this, but I say in that my favourite part of one of your videos was you gave like this inspirational speech about how, you know, if you have a bad game week, how I can't remember if it's like how what other things can go on in life, or you know the how it's not that important basically. I just pick up, and I actually after watching it, I was like, I felt like uplifted. Or something. But it's true, really. Yeah. You have got to put it into context in your own head, like.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to put it into context, but. We'll talk about that a little bit later because I have got some stuff to say about that, but it's more in the mental health part of the interview.
So,
but yeah, I was pleased with that video because what it was, obviously there was that midweek game week and it didn't finish till the Thursday, and then the next one started on the Friday, and I didn't have time to record a video and edit it and get it uploaded. So I thought I'll record this kind of, you know, if you're having a bad game week, it's not the end of the world. You know, you can turn your season around and record that video and put that out then, and then I've got something for people to watch. You know, like to keep the consistency up. And
the algorithm needs one video a week, apparently, doesn't it?
Apparently so. But I didn't bother over Christmas because, you know, there's so much content, and you've got like maybe 2 hours to watch FPL stuff. If you're a viewer and you've got 2 hours to watch FPL stuff before the deadline, you're going to watch like Raptor or Andy or the Black Box because
you're just going to want the essential information, aren't you?
That's it. You want to know how to. You don't have time for the entertainment.
Yeah. So, what inspired the creation of the YouTube channel? This is it. I'm right. It's just this season you started, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you actually asked me that about 15 minutes ago, and I
gave you a question. I gave you a question which was very long, but that was kind of the last bit. So
well, what it was last season, I actually made a few videos, and they were a bit more of like the traditional style that Let's Talk FPL and the like use. So I was doing that for the mini league, and I didn't really enjoy it.
How did you get for views? Because that market's so condensed. I thought about doing that when I started this channel, and I just thought, I mean, I'm not that good, but also, you know, it's just so many videos.
Well, that's it. Yeah, you know, you're competing with. You can't compete with people that have got established audiences by doing the same thing. Because why would people watch you over them when they already know them people? You know, like Let's Talk. Andy's been doing it so long; he's almost like a friend to people.
Yeah, he's brilliant at it as well, isn't he? Like even if you know I started from scratch with him, I'm sure he would beat the shit out of me in terms of views because he's brilliant. He's brilliant at it, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, well, he kind of popularised the format, and he's a master.
Yeah, you got to bring yourself to it. That's what I'm finding. We're making the videos like you got to bring your own character and your own.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know? So anyway,
what is impressive about Andy is that like I'm watching for the cuts, like you know, or where he stumbles over a line, so there's a cut, and then he's put the new, and he never seems to have them. Like
really,
you watch his lives, and they just maybe he's just very good at edit. Well, excuse me.
I suppose you must get used to it. I mean, he probably. I mean, your speaking style must improve after 8 years of doing it, mustn't it?
Yeah.
Or not even improve, you just get consistent at it, I guess. Mustn't
it? It's the mental sharpness as well to kind of remember everything. Like, he doesn't even seem to look at the stats on a screen or anything. They just, like, it's like he's memorized them. And it's a bit like acting, really, in a way. If you see some of them will read the script and just go and perform it. And maybe that's what he does, I don't know. But it's impressive to watch as someone that has 400 cuts in a video.
So the YouTube channel, mate.
Sorry, I keep getting off of these tangents. This is a mixture of caffeine and tiredness. So I did a few of them last season, and I was doing the Ben Dinnery name game challenge. I don't know if you know about that, but Ben Dinnery, the injury expert of FPL, he does it. Yeah, well, he has 15 letters in the name Benjamin Dinnery, so he picks a player starting with each letter.
Okay.
So I did that and thought I'll give this a go, and then I've got one S in my name, so I could only have one of Saka, Sterling, Salah, and Son.
Wait a minute, I'm completely confused. So what's the challenge?
Well, you've got 15 letters in your name.
Yeah.
So you can so if you look at my name, Andrew, I could only have one player with whose surname starts with A, one player who starts with N, one player who starts with D.
And is this an FPL team being based on your name?
Yeah, basically.
Right.
It's just a fun thing. That people come up with these fun challenges.
And is this a video or on Twitter?
Well, Ben Dinnery just does it on Twitter, but I don't think he even makes a big deal out of it anymore. But I saw him do it last season. I thought I'd give it a go.
Okay.
And yeah, it seems fun. Like in some ways, you think if you narrow the choices, it would help. But because I've only got one S in my name, and then you've got like Saka, Sterling, Son, Salah, there's 4 big players whose surname begins with S. And because I've only got one S, I could only have one of them. And like you'd end up chopping and changing between them.
I don't know who I'd get in. I don't know who I'd get in for why.
Well, there's not many. I had to find someone for you. Because like one of my names is Paul, so I got a bit lucky with Udogi.
Udogi, yeah.
But then he got injured, so I just had to carry him. But it wasn't a fun challenge, and I wasn't enjoying. Like I dropped something like I don't have a H in my name, so that ruled out Big Erling. So I dropped like 6 million places in 2 game weeks or something, and then I was doing these videos, and it wasn't fun because it was a format that everybody uses, and I didn't really enjoy.
So you were basing videos on a team around this challenge?
Yeah, but also trying to do like the kind of traditional FPL thing with the, like these are the players I think are good this week, and this is how my game week went, and it was, I felt robotic when I was like recording, and I didn't enjoy myself. I didn't enjoy the videos myself, but my mate Grinch, you've all enjoyed them, and he spent the time going on and on like last season. You should do them next season. You should do it like this season. And like, I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe, because I was doing a degree last year, and that finished, which gave me a lot of spare time, you see. But
what are you doing a degree, mate?
Psychology with counselling.
Okay.
So
nice.
I think there's quite a few people.
What uni?
Well, I was going to become a psychotherapist, but I need to do further studies, and to do that, I'd have to go to Lancaster, and I just can't get there at the minute. So
you got to do
nothing at the minute.
You got to do the 400 hours practice that as well. Yeah.
So I need to get my driving license if I want to make a career out of it, I think. But I don't like the thought of driving. So anyway, so I thought I've got a bit more time this year, and I thought if I do the videos, because like with the blogs, I just wanted to make my mates laugh, and if they enjoy it, then it's a fun hobby. And then The Rock came back to wrestling last year, and he was doing these big bombastic over the top like promos to call them, and I just thought, this is entertaining. I don't watch a lot of WWE, but The Rock got me into it, and I thought nobody ever does anything like this in FPL, and I wonder if there's something here.
Right.
So I thought, what if I did an FPL video, kind of like a wrestling promo, like the 80s Macho Man Hulk Hogan, that sort of thing, staring right into the camera. I'm gonna come for you, and I'm coming for the world title. And
can you smell what FPL Nightmare's cooking?
That's it. And I thought I'll give it a go and see how it comes across. And I quite enjoyed it. And then I started clarting on with all the editing and stuff, and it was quite a good little. I thought it was quite fun, but I wanted to keep them short as well to respect people's time, because like I say, if you've only got an hour or so to consume FPL content, you don't want to spend an hour of it listening to me waffle on about the same things you could get off people that have been there and done it for years. So I wanted to bring something new to the market, and that kind of storytelling kind of approach, I don't think is used in FPL.
Not really. I mean, one of the reasons I gave you and Yelena both S tier was because, I mean, the big thing that I look for in FPL content is the story. I mean, obviously, I'm not your standard FPL YouTuber. I listen to a lot more than a couple of hours a week, but I love all the stories, and I love Yelena. Obviously, it's different format than yours, but you follow her over the weekend, and it's more about the narrative and stuff than just.
Oh, I love her content. I love it, like when she says, "Oh, I don't like." Was it a few weeks back? It'll be a few weeks back, I think. By the time this comes out, I think she'd left Chris Wood on the bench, and then when you're watching it, you know that he's gonna. You know as a viewer that he's scored like 2 goals or whatever.
Is that when she turns into Shrek?
Yeah, I think that was the one.
She got very annoyed. She got very annoyed yesterday because instead of not Shrek, bloody hell, I've done it again. She turned into the Grinch, and yesterday I said she turned into Shrek, and she did not like that comment.
Well, yeah, like from a storytelling perspective, it's kind of like, it's like you could have the explosion where the bomb goes off and it's unexpected, or you can have it where the audience know that the bomb's under the table and they're waiting for it to go off. And it's that kind of approach for Yelena. It's like, what's going to happen, like good and bad, because if she takes a chance and it pays off.
It's like the match of the day challenge thing. I always like watching them as well. Because and they don't basically.
Oh well, her and Az did one of them, didn't they? And it was.
I didn't see it, but she told me about it. Yeah, the end of last season was it? I think.
I think they did one a couple of weeks ago. And it was and that might have been when I'm thinking about with the Chris Wood thing. But
okay, I might miss that one.
It's worth looking out because it's kind of what's going to happen, and it's brutal, like Game of Thrones stuff. But I enjoy her content because it's different.
Yeah, and same with you. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on it, mate, because I'm a massive fan.
Well, I appreciate that. And I tell you who else, FPL Phillips, when he does his quiz shows, I love them.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few of them because there's a general FPL. I'm not a general football content creator that does something like that as well. I've seen a few of his, like he gets like Stunt Peg or those sort of people to do Tenable or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But there's someone who does that in FPL as well, isn't there? I haven't seen any.
Yeah, that's FPL Phillips.
Yeah.
My mouth's so dry. Too much coffee. He does the. Well, he's done the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire a few times, like in the last 6 months or so, and I really enjoy it. And I always want to have a go.
I'd love to have a go at that.
I wonder if I could get 15.
But it's one of them things that when you're at home, you probably would get, maybe not 15, but you get 13 or 14. But when you're actually there, people always seem to get questions.
Yeah.
You just panic or whatever, don't you?
There's always one of the early ones that could catch you out as well. Like, just if you don't know, and then you'll find out the answer, and it seems so obvious, but...
When I used to watch Millionaire, I don't watch like the standard Millionaire. I don't watch anymore because I can't stand Jeremy Clarkson. But there'd always be the £500 question. They'd always throw something in there that would be like, well, I think it's that one, but I'm not really sure. But what would you say are the? I mean, obviously you've only been doing YouTube for a similar length of time to me, but what would you say are the positives and negatives of being an fantasy football content creator? I mean, you could bring in the books there as well if you want.
Well, we'll start with the negatives because then we can get back to being positive.
Yeah.
So for me, the big negative for me is the time pressure. Because of the style of videos I make, there's a lot of editing and it takes up a lot of my time.
And you still, I mean, I don't have any time pressures on this channel because I just talk rubbish about whatever I want. But you've still got to get it out within the game week, haven't you, as well?
Well, that's it. I'm saying a lot. I do apologise. When we said we'd do this, I thought to myself, don't say and that's all I'm saying.
Don't worry about it.
I've just done it again. So, yeah, the time pressure, like my videos take about 18 to 20 hours to make with the editing and the sound. I put a lot into them.
So break that down.
Finding myself up here.
Yeah, break that down for me, mate. Don't worry about it, mate. I say more and stuff all the time. Break that down for me. So, like, how long's that recording? How long's scripting? How long's the editing?
The scripting is normally about 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay.
Depends on how long it is. I'm quite a fast typer, which helps, but like sometimes you have to do a bit of research and stuff like that. The recording normally about 90 minutes, give or take. It's normally lower, but by the time I've got everything set up, you can see I'm recording in my living room, so I have to.
So this is all going in. All this time's going into editing, then, pretty much.
Well, that's about 4 hours.
Okay.
Before I even started it, and then I've got to watch it through to cut out all the errors and the misspeaks and the mistakes and the stumbles, and then so that's probably another 90 minutes, and then it's like getting the cuts as tight as possible and getting the keyframing all the images to zoom into because I have them flash up and then they zoom in a bit and then flash out. So that takes the time, and then it's finding the clips. Like I often have clips come up on the screen. Finding them takes time, recording them, trimming them, editing them, and then the audio. I'm trying to get good at the audio. That takes a while. So I'm getting faster. I'm getting, I'm down to, I think it normally takes me about 3 versions before I'm happy to upload it, whereas before it was like 4 or 5.
Would it be fair to call you a bit of a perfectionist?
Yes, very much so. Yes. I look for the mistakes and hope other people don't see them.
Yeah.
So, well, you've heard me going on at myself about saying earn too much. So.
I think I'm like the opposite in terms of FPL content. I probably should put more effort into it.
No, I think your vibe works for you. There's just sometimes if things are too polished, it loses that kind of common touch.
That's true.
Relatability. So yeah, I would say that time pressure's the toughest one because obviously with my work and I've got a young family as well.
But you enjoy the process, I'm imagining, though, yeah.
Yeah, I do very much enjoy the process. I'm enjoying developing the skills because it's like, what can I do with these skills? Like, even now, I've been doing it 4 or 5 months and they've come on so much. Like, if you watch the first one, like, I'm kind of like looking up like this at the camera because I've got the camera angled wrong, and it's like my beard's bright ginger because I've got the lighting wrong. So, it's learning all them little skills, the audio, like I was saying, getting the audio levels right for YouTube.
Yeah, the audio levels are absolutely. Thank you so much for helping me out those few times with.
No, it's all right.
Andrew's given me some good advice on. You're definitely a lot better in the tech side of stuff.
Well, it's important to help people as well because we're all doing this ourselves and learning off. Very few of us have like a studio or a team behind us.
Yeah.
And we've all got to start somewhere. And, I'm no expert at this stuff. I'm just basically learning what I need to get out the videos I want to make. So.
We're both novices in the YouTube game still at this stage, aren't we?
Yeah, of course. So that's probably the hardest, but I don't mind putting that time in at the minute because it's enjoyable. It's a good hobby. Learning these new skills is good for me to feel like I'm progressing and developing.
Yeah.
I'd say the other thing that is a negative, although it's not something I've experienced too much, is you see some of the grief some of them get off people.
Yeah,
and it's grim. Like,
have you had any of that? Because I said to Yellen yesterday, I've not really. I think because I'm pretty small at the minute, I've not had any of that. Have you had any of that so far?
Nothing too bad. I've had the odd, bloody hell, FPL Raptors hit the drugs this week, or that sort of thing. But if it's funny, I don't mind. I can use that. Me and my mates can laugh about that, and I can maybe work it into my videos.
It's if it's venomous or something, that's when you don't want it, isn't it?
Yeah, you see, like Gianni Batista, he gets so much grief off people.
Yeah, I saw about that whole thing that went over Christmas. We won't get into.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
No,
I
don't want to get into it, but it's
nice. Yeah.
It can be quite vicious, and I don't get it. Why would you spend your time hating on people so much?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, it's not just FPL. There's a lot of trolls out there that just seem to spend their pastime being arseholes, basically, to people online.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like, some of the people that I like that are actually quite nice to me, like, when they're in my comments, which is, but there's always that worry that it's going to turn if you say the wrong thing or you kind of support the wrong people. So, I do make a point of retweeting a lot of Gianni's stuff just to kind of give that support because,
Yeah. I mean,
he seems a lovely lad.
He does, yeah, and annoyingly good looking as well.
But them eyebrows are magnificent.
I guess the other thing, I mean, like we're not. I'm guessing you're not. We're not financially dependent on it, but when you're that sort of level, when you're getting stick, I mean, you lose subscribers or whatever. That's effectively that's taking your money away, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, and it's hard because I do think a lot of it is rooted, like when it comes to the advertising, what you're advertising, and if people think you're advertising the wrong thing, they can get a bit defensive, and it doesn't make it right. You don't have to be. You've made your point. You disagree with the advertising of whatever, or you've made your point. You don't like the person. Let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I made a rant video which came out a couple of days ago. Probably come out a month ago by the time this comes out. Like, I don't like gambling ads on YouTube videos, but I'm not going to go naming particular content creators or go chasing down those content creators. You make your point and you move on, don't you?
Yeah, well, this is it, and you can make your point in a general way. You don't have to target people.
Exactly, yeah.
But my other worry with that, though, is that if the kind of the people that are doing this get that kind of negative reinforcement from getting the reactions, the best solution would be to kind of, I've got no notes on this at all, so I'm thinking a bit on the spot, but if you can kind of like find a bit more of a common ground, so it's like, right, you've made your point, I appreciate your point, let's move on kind of thing, but at the same time, stop being a prick.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing would be just to be able to ignore them, but then I guess it becomes difficult. Or like what I did, I've had the only negative comments I've had were on my tier list, and it was only a couple. My first tier list, and they were basically like, "How dare you rate FPL content creators?" So I just went, "Thanks for the comment." And
that's it.
With a big thumbs up. And then in the last content creator video I did, which hasn't come out yet, I just spend about 3 minutes at the start ranting about people who getting upset about tier lists.
This is the only thing. If people are going to give me grief, do it in my YouTube comments so it boosts me in the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think someone's told me, I don't know if it's true, apparently even dislikes gets you up in the algorithm.
I didn't know that.
I've heard that. I haven't read it like authoritatively, but I heard that because Yelena said dislike my video, but as long as it boosts me in the algorithm.
Well, my most viewed video on YouTube is a Final Fantasy VII remake review.
Oh, really?
That I did. Yeah, I did that for my other YouTube channel. And
do you want to plug that, Andrew?
Maybe at the end.
Okay, yeah.
Save the promo for the end.
What did you think of that? I only got, because the original Final Fantasy VII is my favourite game of all time. I only got 15 hours into the remake, the first one, and I just couldn't get into it. I know it's really popular. I just couldn't get into it though. I think it was the fact they changed the story.
Right.
I don't know. Well, I guess you're a fan.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it, and I think that's actually what caused me to get so many views, because it was basically a video more about what Final Fantasy means to me. That game means to me growing up. It came into my life at an important time in my life.
Same here,
and it had a big impact on me. So I'm talking about that and how the remake kind of evoked a lot of the memories for me in a positive way. But because I'm speaking positively about something that some people don't like for the reasons you say, like some people get quite, oh, you're wrong.
Yeah,
you shouldn't. How dare you say this about this? How dare you enjoy this video game?
And they've got to tell you. And they've got to tell you in the comments.
Yeah, but then other people who do like it, they start responding to them. No, actually, you're wrong. Why shouldn't you tell them? And it's like I'm just sitting back and I'm like,
Have you played the second one?
Keep arguing it.
The second one.
I love it. Yeah.
The second
I love it.
remake came out. Is that good as well?
Fantastic. Long. But it is. If you like that sort of game, it's fantastic. But I think these open world games are all getting a bit too much now.
Maybe.
I'm 40 years old now. I don't have time to spend 100 hours playing one video game.
I might go back and give it another go, because sometimes if I play a game for like 10 or 15 hours and I don't like it, I think it might just be because I was not having a good week or something, and then I go back and enjoy it. But
then at the same time, 15 hours is a lot of time to give something a chance.
That's true.
So what I would say, maybe the second one, you could, like, you don't need to have played the first one to play the second one. So maybe it's worth a go. But if you didn't enjoy it, just play something else.
Yeah,
get the original game on Steam and have a go at that.
So what are the positives being a content creator, Andrew?
I'll get me notes. Right, obviously the first one is I'm making my mates laugh every week, and it's actually bringing us closer together. I talk to them more since making the videos than I otherwise would have done. And like I said earlier, I'm talking to other people that, I'm making friendships and developing them relationships, and there's people that don't even play the game that watch the videos that have said to me, it's nice to see how much more confident you're getting in front of camera and stuff like that. And that's weird to me. Like, how can you enjoy these if you don't watch FPL? But I
do admit I find that slightly strange myself. But I don't think anyone I know, apart from a couple of people I know play FPL, have watched any of my videos at all. They're like, they know that I'm doing it. Exactly.
But maybe like, I'd like to think I'm doing some good storytelling on my videos, but I don't think it's that good. No,
it's. I mean, I could.
I could tell you about some great wrestling stories, but unless you're a wrestling fan, you're not
exactly.
You're not going to care. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, fine. It's fine. You basically made the point I was going to make, mate. But so that's your first positive.
Yeah, that kind of connection with people, and not just me, mates, like the rest of the FPL community. On the whole, they've been wonderful with me. Very supportive, sharing my videos, and especially like the bigger names. Early on, Andy Martin, he was the first like real big name that shared one of my videos, and Az from the Black Box. They were both very supportive early on.
I think they're both big fans, aren't they, Az and Mark?
I'd like to think so. Yeah, Mark as well. Gianni also says nice things about me. Like, I'm watching the streams and sometimes I comment, and they've both the Black Box and Gianni have given me like these nice shout outs, and it really helps. Like, you see the subscribers go up afterwards, and it's like, they don't have to do that. They don't have to say nice things. They don't even have to put your comment up on the screen if they don't want. But it's nice to see them. It's nice, obviously, for me. You've had it as well with the Black Box, where they've shouted you out, and it's nice to see a community where the bigger names try and lift people up. Yeah,
Yelena said to me she thinks it's like the opposite of the football YouTube community, because apparently that's very backstabbing and like the opposite of the FPL community, which is like, I think she described it as like having a warm hug when you get into it, which is a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, it's lovely, like FPL Salah Abdul, he shares a lot of my posts, and All About FPL, the website, which, for all these paid ones, I think All About FPL is the football fantasy Premier League website to follow. It's completely free, and
which one's that, mate?
allaboutfpl.com.
Oh, okay, I've not seen that one before.
Yeah, I think they're wonderful, and it's all completely free. And and this is what there was a thing it'll be a few weeks ago when this goes out, where Live FPL was a bit upset on Twitter because all the people that used to support him and use his tools have stopped saying it, stopped mentioning them at all.
Right.
And that livefpl.net is magnificent. So give them a shout out as well. The in-play mini leagues, the transfer planners, the price changes, like they're nailing the price changes this season, and it's
a few people have mentioned that.
Yeah, so they will be the two websites, livefpl.net and allaboutfpl.com.
Okay.
If you've not seen them, and I'm talking to you at home, if you've not seen them, give them 5 minutes.
I do use Live FPL, but I literally use it. I said to Yellen last night, I'm trying not to use it as much, as in I'm trying not to after every goal happens scroll, because I think it gets a bit too much if you're doing it. But all the other tools though, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and another one I'd just like to mention would be Alex Volo, who
the thumbnail guy.
Yeah, he's so funny. His Twitter content and his Blue Sky content is just so funny. But he's just been so nice to me. Always got a kind word, always supportive, and that sort of thing matters when you're starting out, because some weeks you'll get a lot of reactions, and other weeks you'll barely get any sort of interaction. And when you've put a lot of effort in, it does get you down a bit, really. It's why am I putting 15, 20 hours of effort in for 3 likes and 100 views there? But it's so them little nuggets they make a difference, and nuggets of support.
I mean, I've never interacted with Alex Volo, but you can tell someone's a really nice bloke when literally every tweet he's in is like the legend Alex Volo. Do you know what I mean? Because I think he just well, he got the content creator fund for the FPL Juice in November. Yeah, okay.
And deservedly so. Like, he spent a month doing a lot of like thumbnails and logos and header images for people in the community, and
and of course a certain FPL nightmare got it for December.
Yes, I did. That was a very, very very humbling experience to get voted for winning an award like that when you're so new. But
I won't ask you on air, but I'm interested to know how much that actually if it's like £5.50 or a couple of grand. But I'll ask you that one when we've stopped for good.
Well, it all depends on how much revenue they generate through the month. So if you want your favourite creators to win more money, then go and support the Jews.
Yeah, it was weird actually, because I was actually on the show when they were voting, and it was it was a bit like Eurovision or something, watching the polls.
Well, I was grateful to you because you said, because they had me twice, because some had voted for my name and some had voted for FPL Nightmare. Yeah. And then you were like, oh, that's actually the same person. So, I was like, good for that too.
So any other positives, Andrew?
What have I got? Yes. For me, the big positive is it gives me a project to work on every week.
I 100% can, what's the word? Get you on that one.
Yeah. It's like having that kind of routine and something to work on. Like, for me, it's very important. Again, we'll get into this a bit more during the mental health stuff, but having that kind of structure to my week, this happens and then this happens and then this happens, it does wonders for me. Yeah. Took a couple of weeks off over Christmas. And to be honest, I've just been miserable there. It's like, because I'm just sat there and I'm thinking, I can have I can spend 2 weeks playing computer games or something. I'm sat there and I'm thinking, I could be doing something here. I could be like developing my skills, and instead I'm not.
Yeah, I completely get you. I've people on the channel maybe where like I'm basically filming all my content for January and early February.
Yeah.
Really early because I'm really busy at work, basically I'm applying for a promotion. But anyway, and I am like, I absolutely loved the last 24 hours because I had Yelena last night and then I'm interviewing you today. But like, I'm like, it's probably going to be a month after this before I make my next video, and I'm like, I'm going to get so bored.
I'm sure you'll find something to do.
Well, I'm going to have to work. That's the problem.
Them cursed things known as jobs.
Yeah,
I can't just make videos all day.
Any other positives, mate?
Probably. But that, like I said, it's the people, the connections with people, the developing of the skills and having a routine. I think they're the main ones for me.
Okay.
Excuse me. So burping because I've got Coca-Cola.
I toyed with taking this one out, but I'm going to ask you because the reason I toyed about taking it out is obviously me and you have only been creating FPL content for a matter of months. But what advice would you give to any FPL content creators wanting to start out?
Right. This is why I made notes, because I wanted to have proper answers to give people.
Cool.
So I've got 5 things. So maybe clip this as like a YouTube short or something. 5 tips to being a successful creator.
Shorts have got to be less than a minute, mate. The way we're going on, I don't think this is going to be less than a minute.
Well, number 1, do it for fun. Number 2, do it to develop your skills and to become better at something. Number 3, be consistent and do it every week or every 2 weeks or what have you, but let people know that they know when you're going to be there. Number 4 would be to find a new angle. You know, like with myself, I'm doing that kind of wrestling kind of thing with it. Yelena's doing the blogs. You've got to find a new angle, because if you think you're taking down like FPL Raptor and Let's Talk FPL, you've got no chance that, you know, even FPL Harry, you know, they're too good and they're too established and they're too good at the game. You're not going to beat them. So you've got to find a way to work within the ecosystem yourself, if the views are important to you and you want to make a go of it. And the 5th thing would be to commit to a full season. I would say it's far too easy to make a few videos and enjoy it, but then you're not getting the views or you're not getting the interactions, and you think, oh, what's the point? I'm going to knock this on the head. But it takes time. It takes time for the algorithms. It takes time for people to get used to you. You know, it takes time for people to think, oh, I've seen him pop up on my YouTube recommended like 10 times now. I'm going to give him a chance because I'm bored.
Yeah.
You know, so commit to a full season of doing it and see where you are at the end of the season. Because if you don't, you're going to quit as soon as you get bored, or as soon as you have a bad game week, or as soon as you're not getting that dopamine hit that you're looking for.
Yeah, good advice.
Yeah, so do it for fun, do it to develop skills, be consistent, find a new angle, and commit to a full season. Excellent. There's your 5 tips for, I wouldn't even say success, but that's what will give you a chance.
Enjoying it as well. That's what. Yeah,
definitely.
I was just thinking when you were saying that, like, particularly since I started my own FPL channel, but even before then, at least once a day I'll see like a tiny content creator who's like, you know, just getting 100 views or even less, sometimes like 10 views, and I kind of think to myself, those are probably the ones that have stayed around for at least a season, like you're saying. I'm imagining, like, because there's tons of them, how many FPL channels start, go for a couple of months and then give up? There's probably hundreds, isn't there?
Well, yeah, and what I would also say is, I would say a lot of the time you'll maybe get 1 or 2 videos that for some reason, maybe it's the algorithm or other people share them, or you'll just catch a trending topic and they'll get a lot of views, and then the next ones will dip back to the mean, and then that can be kind of disappointing, and you can think, oh, what's the point? Like, I'm having that happen a bit now. You know, my views went up and now they're coming down again. And part of that's probably people have watched the video and thought, nah, this isn't for me. And that's fair enough. Part of it's people not engaging with the game. You know, like, engagement in the game drops over the season,
especially over Christmas.
Yeah, there's so many game weeks, and there's only so many hours in a day. So, you know, but if you commit to the season, then it's like you're going to have a full season to ride these waves of interactions and good results and bad results, and see what happens, and you can assess at the end of the season whether you want to continue.
Can I have one in, Andrew? Because
yeah, of course.
I haven't got into
it's your show. You can do what you want.
Well, I haven't really got into so much depth with this one with anyone else, but I'd also say don't get downhearted, because like, I lose. First couple of times I did it, you know, I wake up and sometimes I've gained 10 subscribers because, I don't know, Yelena shared a video I did with her, but then there'll be other days when I've lost a couple of subscribers. But I just think over time, you know, maybe that's someone who subscribed because they read a recommendation and then they've watched some of my videos and I'm not for them. That's fair enough. But as long as over the course of it, I'm gaining more than I'm losing, you know, you're finding you're finding an actual audience, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's like FPL points in a way. If you judge a player on one game week, you know, you judge Cole Palmer on a game week where he gets 1 point because he's had a yellow card, then you're going to think he's a waste of space. But you judge him on the week where he gets 24 points and you think he's the greatest player ever.
Yeah.
But it's over the course of, you know, a 10-game week, 20-game week span where you can really judge how good an asset an FPL player is. And it's the same with making YouTube videos or blogs or what have you. You've got to give it a chance to play out and see what happens over time.
Definitely. So, go on, mate.
I was just going to say, it is worth thinking though. Like, if you are on a constant downward trend, is there something that's not connecting that a little tweak I can make that might help? But you know, you've just got to play these by ear, really. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite lucky. The first video that I made for the channel pretty much got 3,500 views. I mean, I've not got anywhere near that since then. The only other video I've got that's over 1,000 views is my video at the time of recording, I should say, is my interview with Yelena. But then almost like I like that in a way because I'm like waiting for the next one to like, you know, I've had a few other ones that have gone to like 600 or 700, and I kind of like the. I like seeing how it's going to do, and sometimes even if it flops, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, the only thing for me, like, I've not had a video reach 1,000 views yet, but I've also not had any one of them drop under 100. So, like, I stress and I stress until I hit that 100 view benchmark, and then after that, it's like, I've got 3 figures, that'll do. You know?
I've got one on like 96, and I've actually thought about like signing into a different account and going and watching it 4 times just to get it above 100.
No, I'll watch it for you later.
Exactly.
It'll be 100 by the time this comes out.
So I think we already kind of covered this, but the channel name was mainly because you had a bit of a nightmare season at one point. Would that be right?
Well, yeah, the whole game was a nightmare to me because my mates were kicking my backside every season. You know, I like, you think, oh, I'll take this chance, and it goes wrong. But also because like a lot of the community, you know, a lot of the content creators, like a lot of it is about doing well. You know, you've got all these, you know, FPL Harry, he's got like his last 4 finishes are unreal.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So it's like, again, it's about what's my unique selling point, and it's like, well, I'm terrible at the game, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You know, this is the story. I've got to become good so I can end the nightmare.
Yeah,
and you know, and then obviously at the end of the 3rd book, I did end the nightmare by winning the mini league, but I decided to stick around.
The nightmare continues on YouTube.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it's, again, I'm having a good season, so you can't complain, really.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to guess the last one is probably going to be... The answer to I always guess this one is going to be no, considering you've only been making YouTube content for as long as I have. But maybe not, because I guess you have got the books as well. Have you ever been recognised out on the street as FPL Nightmare, or just the author, maybe, of your books?
Well, that presupposes I actually go out into the street, which is actually a very rare thing for me to do. But yeah, I mean, since COVID, it's like COVID almost gave me the excuse to stop having to pretend to enjoy socialising and to just sit at home on my computer. It's magnificent. Well, obviously COVID wasn't magnificent, but in a way, it's.
I enjoyed the first. I enjoyed like the first 6 months of it. I think because I got to spend some time. But I think after about 6 months of lockdowns, I was itching to get out. But I certainly enjoyed the change when it first happened.
Yeah. I mean, it was good for a lot of people. It wasn't for me because I was a care worker, so I was still going to work, and it was like, oh my god, I'm gonna step out my front door, and you know, but it let's not talk about COVID.
Yeah.
Basically, it had a lot of positive impacts on my life because I had to move in with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and you know, that's led to us getting. You know, I've got a wonderful life now, and I don't pretend to enjoy socializing anymore, so I get to sit at home all the time. So, but no, I've not been recognised by anyone I don't know for my FPL content. But when I was about 12 years ago, I was doing a lot of mental health writing, which is going to end up being quite a good segue to the second half of the show.
Yeah, and this is your book, your first book.
Yeah, but long before the book, I was writing a lot of mental health blogs, and a few of them took off quite considerably. You know, a lot of celebrities sharing them and stuff, because it was at a time when people didn't really talk about it, about mental health,
especially men's mental health is in particular.
Yeah, you know, like because I was talking a lot about, you know, inflicting damage to my own self and depression and that sort of thing, and they were topics people didn't discuss. Like even now, people, I'm trying to avoid saying the terms because of, you know, the algorithms and stuff. I don't want the video to, but you know when you do damage to yourself. Yes. So like I was writing about that, and a lot of people didn't talk about that, but I had a few people come up to me in the pubs and stuff saying, you know, I read this that you've written, and it's had a big impact on me, and it's nice to it's nice to know I'm not the only one going through this kind of thing. And it was a lot of people, there was a few people I didn't know that said that, and it's a weird experience because it's like they know this massively intimate, personal thing about you, and you don't even know who they are. But
okay, mate. Got second.
It's just nice to have that kind of impact on people in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, no, I've not had anyone recognise me for FPL, and to be honest, given the way I do my videos, maybe be a bit intimidated to come up with.
But you're giving wrestling promos, so they'll probably run away.
Well, that's what I try to do anyway. So, I have a few of my mates recite like the word, like the catchphrase, like "however." I get that off people every now and then, but weird. Furthermore.
Okay, mate. So, sorry.
I was going to say, if we're going to go on to mental health, do you mind if I go for the quick wee?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'll pause the. Yeah, go ahead, mate. I'll pause the record. Welcome back. So, just before I continue, a reminder: if you're enjoying the video, please, it'd mean the world to me if you could like to help more people see the video, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. It would be great if you could do that. So we're gonna segment on now, Andrew, to talk about FPL and mental health and mood. But before I kind of go over the standard questions that I ask people in this section, specifically about FPL and mental health, I know you've written a book, you said, about mental health before you wrote the FPL book. So I just wondered if you wanted to talk about that at all.
Of course, I'm always happy to advertise my products. All available on Amazon. So it's a book called Dancing with Disorder, and it's I'm terrible at summarizing books. Mm-hmm. Like I can write them, but if you ask me to write that 2-paragraph blurb,
like the synopsis.
Yeah, but basically, how honest do you want to be? Well, 10 years ago. Well, it'll be 10 years ago. Yeah, now I'm nervous again. Forgive me. So just over 10 years ago, I was sectioned, which was a very chastening experience, not pleasant at all. But it was the kind of culmination of, years, probably, 15 years of mental health issues for me, stemming from when my father died when I was just about to turn 13. Like I said before about me writing, some of that, the behaviours started at that time, and then they got worse during my teens and my 20s, and especially when I got quite addicted to the old reefer, and which doesn't help at all, and because if you say it's bad for you, it's going to cause arguments, and I'm not going to say it's bad for you. What I will say is it was bad for me. Because
I'd say from a psychologist perspective, there's lots of evidence to say smoking weed is not necessarily bad if you do it in moderation, but particularly if you're someone who's got issues going on and existing mental health vulnerabilities, it can exasperate them a lot.
Definitely. It was, for me, it was very much a self-medication kind of thing.
Sure.
Which works until it doesn't. And then, by the time you realise it doesn't, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to get too much into that. But yeah, I ended up getting sectioned, and I was only in the hospital for a week, and basically it was almost like it just gave my mind a chance to settle down because of the amount of like stimulants, the caffeine and energy drinks and the weed I was ingesting at the same time. I wasn't eating. And it just basically that week, it was like somebody pressed a reset button on my life.
So it was a good experience in a way, not being sectioned, but like the reset in your life was.
I wouldn't say it was a good experience. It was
Okay.
probably the worst experience of my life, but it was the most important for me building the life I've got now, and being able to exist in the world in a beneficial way, I suppose. Like, you know, but yeah. So the book kind of is about that descent into madness, which I'm allowed to say because it was me. You know, the kind of descent into madness and then rebuilding it to a moment in my life that was, you know, a profoundly positive experience. You know, it's kind of, if you know much about it, it's like the hero's journey. You reach the dark night of the soul, and then you take down the big bad guy, and you know. For me, that was my own mind in a way. So that book, which I'm absolutely not selling anyone on at all, it's funny, it's humorous, it's lighthearted a lot of the time. There's a lot of heart in it. It's mainly like, it's told almost like anecdotes, like stories. Like, at this point in my life, this big thing happened and this is the story, and then it skips forward and then this happened, and you know, so it's like
different chapters on different bits, sort of.
Yeah, like, yeah. And it's if the people that have read it say it's good, and it's not just my mates saying that. There's people that I've never heard of that have left reviews and stuff, but obviously it's not sold as many as I'd like, partly because I'm terrible at selling it.
Remind us of the book's name again, Andrew.
Dancing with Disorder.
Dancing with Disorder. It's a very catchy, very catchy title. Is a
dance? Yeah, well,
where was Dancing with Disorder? What did you come out now?
Well, a lot of it is about the kind of bizarre and crazy antics me and my mates, King Ding and Jock and Jeeves, got up to as well. I will say it's semi-autobiographical. It's not, you know, there has been tweaks made for, you know, to make a good story, but a lot of it's based on you know, like the opening bit of the book is about when I became known locally when I was 18 as the Penrith Prancer. Because I streaked a local non-league football match. So, which, you know, that got on the radio and everything. And like, obviously, you look back and you almost cringe a bit. Like, you wouldn't do it now. But
didn't go on the TV, did it?
No, it got on the radio.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just wondering if there's some footage out there of you streaking.
There is one video which is on my bookshelf behind me, and I don't own a video player, so I don't know if anyone will ever see it again.
That's where it's staying.
Yeah, it's a good thing it happened before camera phones. That's all I can say. But yeah, so the first story in the book is about that. So you can tell it's quite a funny story. It's about, you know, like a young lad trying to connect with his mates who are a bit older, and, you know, trying to get a coming of age kind of thing.
Yeah,
and, you know, and then it's like the kind of journey of self-discovery through these crazy scenarios and set pieces that culminate in this, you know, horrible experience of being sectioned, and then kind of the fight back to a positive ending and a positive situation. And so yeah, that's what Dancing with Disorder is all about.
It sounds really interesting, man. I wouldn't say this unless I genuinely meant it. I feel like I might go and buy a copy myself, because
maybe I should tell more people about the prancing story to open the book.
Do you know what do you know what we should have done, mate? You know what they usually do? You have like a copy of the book with you, and you just, like, you know, when like the politicians or whatever are promoting their books. Oh, here we go. Excellent. Dancing with Disorder.
So yeah,
I've got, just keep it there for a minute.
So yeah, that is obviously it's a photo of my life that's been like kind of cartoonized.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just dropped things on the floor there. Yeah, it's a photo of my life that's been. But that's from the kind of final story in the book, which is about, you know, obviously being sectioned has left me my character. We'll say my character. I keep saying me because it is based on, but it is, it is a bit fictional as well. My character is asked to front his favourite band, which I was.
Right.
Not a major band, a band called With Lights Out.
You a good singer?
No, terrible. Terrible. But, they give me the opportunity, and it's like the kind of Kevin Keegan thing, Why are you scared to chase a dream? Why are you scared? And that is the big set piece, because obviously being sectioned and the mental health issues have left me like riddled with anxiety, but here I have a chance, once in a lifetime thing, to be the lead singer of one of my favorite bands on stage.
Wow.
But I have to overcome all this shit that I'm feeling, and this is like 10 months after I've been sectioned. So it was a big challenge for me, and it was a big achievement to actually,
did the gig
to do it.
Did the gig go right?
My microphone technique's probably better now than it was then. A lot of feedback. So that's Dancing with Disorder anyway. I'll flash it up again.
Yeah.
Buy my book!
Available from Amazon. So we'll move on now, Andrew, to talk about FPL and mental health a bit. So,
yes.
I know you said when we were messaging beforehand that FPL has actually had quite a positive effect on your mental health, but I'll ask you the normal question and you can answer. So, has FPL ever had any effect on your mood and mental health? And I will emphasise, because I don't want people to just think when they watch these videos I'm saying mental health. FPL has a bad effect on your mental health, because it can also have a very good effect on your mental health. And has it changed as a content creator as opposed to just as a player?
Well, right, hang on. Let me find my notes. Well, yes, like, obviously when I was writing my book trilogy, it was about with the whole premise that if I can win this mini league, I can retire from this game that's just causing me grief. But over the course of writing those books, I actually really fell in love with the game, because maybe it's because I ended up winning the mini league and finishing in the top 10K. You just don't know. But obviously it has an effect, but it's like we were saying before, it brought routine to my life. It brought structure to my life. It helped me develop my skills, and it, with the FPL community on the Twitter and the Blue Sky and my mates, that like, it's hard sometimes as a bloke. It's hard to talk to your mates.
Yeah.
And like, there's some people that you bump into them in the street and you just don't know where to start. You've not seen them for so long. You don't know where to start. And it's like, bloody hell, Haaland's having a crap season, isn't he? Why have you got him in? And then that's an hour of conversation right there. And so that is quite a positive effect it can have.
I've had random conversations, just not my current job, but in my last job I had to take the tube all the way across London.
Yeah.
And I've seen young lads just talking about the FPL team, and then got an hour's conversation on the Piccadilly line or whatever about FPL. It's just like it's not just an icebreaker, because probably we wouldn't have talked to them otherwise. But it just gets the things. It's just like a common interest you have, isn't it? I don't know.
Well, it's something everyone has an opinion on.
Yeah.
If you play it, you've got an opinion, and so it is that, like you said, it's the icebreaker. It gives you that conversation to have with someone that you want to talk to, and you maybe struggle to think how to start. Like me and Shocking Jeeves, we go up to the edge of town on the hill overlooking the town, and we get coffees from McDonald's, and we'll talk about FPL for an hour or two and just rant and rave, and then you talk about other things during the course of the conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the other things that matter more, but it's FPL that kind of facilitates those conversations. So for me, I think it is a positive thing. However, obviously, of course, it can have negative impacts. Like, when it comes to mood, if you care about the game, if you want to do well, it's going to affect your mood every game week, because either you'll have a good game week and you'll feel great, or you'll have a bad one and you'll be frustrated. But it's when that feeling lingers for several days and it starts affecting the rest of your life, that's when it's more problematic.
Yeah.
But what I like about FPL is that it might sound a bit silly, but it teaches you about life, because no matter how bad a game week is, there's always another game week around the corner. No matter how bad a season is, there's always another season around the corner. No matter how badly you've messed something up, whether it, FPL or, a relationship, friendship, something at work, no matter how badly it's gone, there's always another opportunity. There's always another game week. There's always another transfer. There's always another season. There's always another chance to get things right, get things better. That opportunity for redemption. And that's what I like about FPL, because it's hard to see that in life. If you've really upset someone that you care about, it's hard to see. It can be hard to envision a time where things are good again, or if you're struggling with mental health, it can be hard to envision a time when you don't have, the dark clouds hanging over you, and to be able to see that there is a way out of the situation. But it's the same with FPL, like you can have a run of red arrows and you think, I'm never going to get a green arrow again. But then you do. And then you get another one. And then slowly but surely you start rebuilding. And then the next season you've got another chance. And I do believe that is the same with life. There is always another chance. It's just sometimes you have to wait, and sometimes you have to endure a bit. And that can be the hardest bit. And sometimes you want to quit the game because you're getting so many red arrows. But if you hang around, you can turn a 4.8 million rank into a top 10k finish.
I'm getting misty-eyed here. You're inspiring me again, Andrew.
Well, this is why I made notes, because on these big questions, I wanted to have good answers.
Yeah, no, great answer.
But that was like the video of mine you mentioned earlier, which has got the thumbnail "awful overall rank?" ? That's the message of that one as well. Maybe things are going bad this season, but you can have a crap season. You can be crap at the game for another 6 months, but learn something so that next season you get it right. If your ranking's 10 million because you've taken 3 hits every game week, spend the next 6 months taking no hits and learning that you can still do well or even better without taking them. And then next season, when the next opportunity comes along, you're ready. You can do things differently because you've learned from the mistakes and you've made the plan to get better. So that's what I love about FPL.
It definitely is. It definitely is a learning experience, isn't
it? Yeah, I think so. And when it comes to mental health, there are parallels. Obviously, it's not the same thing at all, but it can be for people. Yeah. It can be a trigger for people.
And
but yeah, that's why it's been such a positive for me, because for my mental health, I need routine and structure, and FPL offers me that. Every game week, there's a deadline, and now with the videos, every video I have a deadline. Got to pour things in, and it doesn't matter how good it is or how bad it is, it has to be out for the deadline.
Yeah,
and that helps with my perfectionism, because I can't get them all perfect, because otherwise I'll never have a video out, So, yeah. So for me, that's why I think there's a lot of positives to the game. However, I am aware that is perhaps not a common experience, and, perhaps not the way a lot of people would see it. But,
I wouldn't say it necessarily. I think it's a spectrum. You got, I don't know if you've watched the interview I did with a guy called Ray who quit because he was pissing him off so much.
No, I haven't seen that one.
But I think there's a whole spectrum. There's people that FPL is the love of their life, and probably it's going to be a spectrum of different. Probably most people are around the middle. It just upsets them a bit, or it just gives them a bit of a boost. But we're all somewhere on that spectrum.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, I mean, Go on, I'll let you ask the next question. This is the
Okay,
problem when you've got notes, you start skipping ahead.
So I'm assuming the positiveness extends to being a content. I mean, you kind of said that yourself. The positive effect of mood, mental health is being a content creator as well as just being an FPL player. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would say it is the same, but it is enhanced as well. It's like the 4K version of that rather than the 1080 because, you know, if you have a great game week and then you get a lot of praise for your video at the same time, it's like, oh, I can make these videos all the time. But then if your game week's in the toilet and then your video bombs, it's like, you know, I'm wasting my entire life here. I'm quitting YouTube tomorrow. So, you know.
So next question, mate, would be what advice would you give to anyone who's struggling with their mental health mood this season as a result of FPL?
There's a few. Again, I've made notes for this because I wanted to have proper answers for you. The video we've talked about, the awful overall rank one, that is the first bit of advice I would say. See the game differently, you know, use this season as preparation for next season.
Go and watch that video.
Of course, yeah. And, you know, practice doing things differently and focus less on overall ranking and more on how many green arrows you can get. Because that was the thing, you know, if you're doing terrible, you can start counting up the green arrows because they're easier to get. And, you know, they're addictive, them green arrows. You know, they're lovely. Another piece, the other thing I would really say is that when you are struggling with it and it is making you feel down, for a lot of people, there's this tendency to say, oh, why am I feeling so bad? It's just a silly game. You know, why am I letting such a silly game affect me so much? And I think I don't like that when people do that because it's not a silly game, because it is affecting you. So for whatever reason, it's a game that matters an awful lot to you. And when you start downplaying that it's making you upset, then you're telling yourself that your emotions don't matter.
Yeah.
You know, I'm devastated about this, but it's silly. Well, why is it silly? You're devastated about it.
It's just completely conceptual, isn't it? Whether or not it's silly or how big or small it is, it's completely up to you. It's not really affected. It shouldn't be affected by anything else, should it? The fact it's just a free game. If it's a big deal to you, it's a big deal to you.
Well, this is it. I mean, you could say that about anything in life. Like, the only reason anything in life matters is because we decide as people that it matters. Exactly. And if you've decided this game matters to you, then it's okay to be upset about it. And you shouldn't make yourself feel bad for feeling that way because it's important to you. And it's okay to want to do well at something. It's okay to want to be good at something. And it's okay to feel sad or frustrated or angry if you're not. But it's about learning how to channel them. It's about learning how to channel them emotions into a positive outcome.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with because they dismiss their own emotions and then they dismiss the game. And it's something I've been guilty of in the past as well. And the only thing that's really helped me with regards FPL and my mental health is accepting that it means an awful lot to me for whatever reason. And that a lot of people might think that's silly, but I don't care. It matters to me, you know? So I wouldn't say if somebody's important to somebody that they do a painting every week, I wouldn't say, oh, what's the point? You're just putting colours on canvas. What's the point in being upset about it? You wouldn't say that to someone.
No.
And it's not the same thing, but it is. It's something that's important to someone. And when it's something, people are too hard on themselves in the world. Like, there's enough people in the world that are going to kick you down. Like, don't be one of them to yourself. Be a friend to yourself and tell yourself it's all right to be upset about something. And, you know, because once you accept that, then you can start dealing with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I haven't thought of it that way before, yeah.
Well, what I would say, the other piece of advice, and this is probably where a lot of my attitude comes from, is if you are really struggling, then talk to someone whether it's your friends, your family, a doctor. Obviously, if you're struggling mentally, it's worth speaking to a doctor. But what I would also say is that the Samaritans are always there for people. And all you have to do is telephone 116 123, and you'll have somebody at the end of the phone that'll listen to you. And I used to be a Samaritan. I used to be one of the listening volunteers on the phone.
Okay.
And people think, what's the point in me ringing up? I don't want to, and I don't want my story to end today, so it's not for me. Again, I'm skirting around the terms, but I don't want this to be the end of the line, so it's not for me. But the Samaritans isn't about that. I mean, it is obviously about that, but it's not just about that. It's about stopping people getting to that point. If you think of them sort of thoughts as a scale of 1 to 10, and number 7 is you're actively thinking about going to the end of the line, it's far better to ring the Samaritans when you're a 2 or a 3 or a 4 and wait until you're a 7.
Can I jump in for 2 minutes?
Of course you can.
Because I'm thinking people are going to be thinking, what the hell is Andrew talking about phoning the Samaritans because I had a bad FPL game week? But how I contextualise it is this. For a lot of people, when FPL affects their mood is when they're already down about something else. They've been divorced or they've been dumped or something like that. So, yeah, you might not phone the Samaritans about your FPL team, but it may be that you're at a 6.5 on the scale and having a really bad FPL week just knocks you up that 0.5. Yes. I mean, you're not going to phone up the Samaritans and say, Haaland my triple captain didn't work, but it may be, and as you were saying as well, another important thing is, like you said, in terms of being able to talk to your friends and stuff, particularly as blokes, sometimes talking about that FPL stuff is where we get to talk about those other issues. So I just wanted to kind of contextualise a bit, like what you were saying a bit. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. It's like nobody. Well, the vast majority of people aren't going to think about reaching the end of the line because Erling Haaland's triple captaincy is blanked.
Yeah.
But if that makes them feel like a failure, and they feel like a failure in other areas of the life, then that's just going to exacerbate it.
Yeah.
And if you are feeling depressed about FPL, then ultimately you're feeling depressed and it's worth talking to somebody. If you are feeling mentally, in pain mentally, you are struggling, then whatever it's because of, it's worth talking to somebody. So, and when I was on the phone listening to people, people ring about all sorts of reasons. Your reason for ringing, even if it is to say, I went for Ismail Assar and then Brian Mbeumo scored 19 points and I feel stupid. That's probably not going to be the most ridiculous thing that a listening volunteer has heard.
Wow, okay.
Because a lot of people, use the service inappropriately because they want to get the rocks off. And,
right.
So somebody ringing up to talk about Erling Haaland would actually probably be a bit of a,
welcome distraction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but also like I keep saying, if it's important to you, then accept it's important to you and talk to someone if it's damaging you, because if it is, then there are other aspects of your life that are causing you problems, and you should be talking about them, because there's only one way things go when they get bottled up, and that's a big explosion. And that's not good for anybody.
Awesome. Well, it's good advice, mate. So last one I usually ask in this section is, do you think there are any changes FPL? And I don't like to keep this question exclusive to FPL because obviously there's lots of other types of fantasy football, the Telegraph, you've got paid more gambling versions like Fan Team. Do you think collectively or specifically any of these, is there anything they could do to help the mental health base of their players?
Again, this is one of the things I made notes for.
Yeah, sure.
Right. The first thing, the simplest change they could do is to add on the website a button that lets you hide the rankings. set it in the preferences to show/hide rankings, and then if you press hide, you don't see any overall rankings. You don't see anything except your team and your score for that game week, and maybe your overall score. You don't see any arrows. You don't see any mini league rankings. You don't see any overall rankings. All you see is your team and your scores. And then if you are struggling because of the rankings and they are getting you down, you can just hide them for a few weeks and then focus only on your team.
It could be more specific than that, because you could have a button to like hide your overall rank but still be able to see your mini league or vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. But, and something like that for me, they could probably put that on the website in about half an hour. If they had the technical know-how, which I don't, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn there, but it doesn't seem like a hard thing to...
You'd think, wouldn't you?
Well, you can... How easy is it to hide someone on Twitter or on Blue Sky? It's, mute a conversation. Let us mute our overall rankings, or hit the snooze button for a month or something. You know, I think that would make a big difference to a lot of people, and it's something very simple to implement. Another thing I don't like is when the official site and some of the bigger kind of websites, when they do the kind of like banter posts.
You give me an example, mate.
Like, say you've captained Cole Palmer and he's got 2 points, or Haaland and he's got 2 points, and then Mo Salah's going to hit 25 points. And then you turn on your social media and the official site said, hold your hands up if you're one of the 95% of people who captained Salah for his 50 points, or if you're one of the 5% of people that aren't captaining him, why aren't you captaining him?
The 5% of the losers.
Yeah, I just think, it is banter, They're not trying to make people feel bad, but it can make people feel stupid. And I feel like if you're running a website where you're trying to get people to be engaged, why are you making them feel stupid? Why are you... Obviously, you're fluffing up the people that have done well, but, why... I just don't like it. I feel like it's a touch unprofessional. And I don't mind if it's like the content creators themselves doing it. Like, if it was, I don't know, somebody from... If it was an individual creator saying, "Oh, you're all idiots for not captaining Mbeumo," then that's fair enough, because they give it, they can take it in response. But if it's a faceless account that's doing it, then I just don't like it. I just don't think there's any need for it.
Yeah,
there's enough banter merchants that these official sites shouldn't need to have to do that. And I would actually include the clubs themselves, like, to go back to a wider football point. When you see like football clubs, like official accounts mocking fans of other teams, like, it's funny and it makes you feel good when it's your team, like mocking the Spurs fans. But at the same time, you're an official club account. What are you doing? Like, leave that to the fans. The other thing I would do, for the official website, like, there has to be some sort of acknowledgement that FPL is very similar to gambling. It is. Like, we can say, it's not gambling. It is. You're betting on goal scorers. You're betting on outcomes. You're just doing it with points rather than with money.
Yeah.
But it is a fine line. Some people use FPL as a way to stave off gambling, but for some people, it can be like the first step to a dangerous addiction. I just feel like there should be a support page on the website, and I feel like they should share it every week. Like, have a page, have contact information for like maybe some sort of gambling support line for the Samaritans, for Mind, have that on the website, easy to locate. You need support, here's our page where you can find support, signpost people to services, and then share it every day. Well, not every day, but at the end of each day that there's a game, what harm does it do an official account to share a support page?
Yeah, if you've had a bad game week, here's these contact details.
Give these people a ring, rather than, aren't you stupid for not captaining Salah? you know, like we are meant to be an FPL community and we should be looking out for each other. And to be fair, it's something I could have done with my website and it's something I could do on my Twitter, and I don't do it, but it's something that until you think of it, you don't think of it to do. But it's something so small. Maybe we should. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it is something that it needs to come from the game itself, doesn't it? Like you could send it out to your 1,000 Twitter followers or whatever, but it really needs to be coming out from the official game or on the official website or whatever.
Like they always put out a post, or how's your Saturday in FPL gone? Like the official site, they always put out something like that. Are you one of these managers that have had a great week or what have you? Why not just in the reply, if you're not, here's some contact details for you. So, it pops up the tweet underneath.
Well, if you're not, here's a link to FPL Nightmares inspirational video.
Well, there should be linking to my YouTube channel in every post.
Every post. Anything else, mate, before we go just the last little section on how the season's going?
On my season is going well, which is a relief because I've given it the old Billy Big Bollocks all season. So it's quite,
it's useful when it's the first season on the YouTube as well.
Yes, this is my first season on the YouTube, and as overnight in this game week, I am just inside the top 9,000.
Bloody hell.
But of course, there are still games to play, and there's big players I do have, big players I don't have, so it could swing a bit. But I mean, that could change. It's so we've not even hit chip season yet. And anything can happen.
2 top 10Ks in a row, maybe.
It would be nice, not in a row, but the last one was 3 seasons ago, so it'd be so it would be nice if I did. As long as I win my mini league, that's the main thing. But ultimately, I want to become the world number 1. And I don't think enough content creators say this, but we all want to become the world number 1. And yet, for some reason, we all say, "Oh, I just want to have a good season. Oh, if I could get top 10K, it'd be nice." It's like, well, I want to win the thing.
Do you know what?
I want to win this game.
I do wish they had better prizes though for winning. Like it's what is it? A couple of match tickets and some FPL merc, basically, isn't it? Like
it's nothing. How much are they getting in advertising? They must be getting. There's 11 million players. How many people? So you're talking if you go onto your team page, you go onto your transfers page, you go back to your team page, you save it, and then you go back to the home page. That's potentially 50 million views just from making your transfer.
Yeah.
If everybody did it. And that's not even including wildcards or looking up stats. All that advertising each week, and the best it can offer is a couple of tickets and a PlayStation 5.
I think
a key ring if you come third.
I think the kudos of winning would be the attention you'd get in the community. That would be the real prize, wouldn't it? And
it would be for as long as it lasts. But how long do people, who won the game 5 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know. One thing I do notice is usually most people, I wouldn't say everyone, after they win, seems to have a shit season afterwards because they always seem to have a thing on FF Scout. Usually with Gianni, at least they have done a couple of seasons. He'll do something with the guy that won it last season.
Yeah,
and both times I've seen him do that the guy the next season's not done very well at all.
Yeah. But, well, what I would say with that, because I experienced that with when I finished top 10K, where I was writing that third book at the start, I said it's win or bust. I'm either going to end my FPL career as a loser,
right,
or I'm going to win the mini league. And then I obviously went on to win. But as you get towards the end of the season, and as I was getting to, just the thought of winning my silly little mini league, the pressure I was feeling, I was obsessed. The last 10 game weeks, I was obsessed because I was so close to achieving this goal. And then at the end, I was exhausted and I was just like, right, I need a season where I barely pay any attention. And it doesn't work that way because you do get sucked back in. But you always think, I'm just going to play for fun next season. I want to do some stupid transfers that I wouldn't normally do. And then it's not fun when you do that because you just do poorly and you're like, well, I did so much better last season. That was more fun.
Do you know what I've thought about doing? I mean, I know you're not supposed to have 2 FPL teams, but I have thought, just for my own entertainment, set up a team that I just have fun with it, and then have my normal team, so it doesn't affect my overall rank, just to compare, like, as an experiment to see which one ends up doing better.
I actually think everyone should be allowed 2 teams.
Yeah.
I think they should, because I think you get a more interesting game because but you should not be allowed the same players in both teams. So you can have your proper team and then you can have your gamble team. So, obviously you wouldn't be able to have Salah in both, but in your gamble team, maybe you go for Haaland and, I don't know, maybe you could have a crossover, but I just think it would make it a more interesting game because I think the gamble teams would do a lot better than people think.
Yeah, I guess the reason they probably don't do that is you might then get the top 100,000 would be full of, what am I trying to say? Maybe basically, the good players would keep doing well, and then us, I'm going to say us okay players might then be finishing even further down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean that's going to happen with the rise of the algorithms anyway. Like so many people just follow the algorithms nowadays, and all the big creators. Like, how many clones do people like FPL Raptor have? You get people waiting until like his deadline stream just so they can copy his exact transfers.
I don't know if you watched the interview I did with FPL Mate. It's one of the first interviews I did.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
He was 12th in the world at one point, going back a few years ago now, and 25 of the other teams in the top 100 were exact clones of his team. So he then started like not showing his transfers for a few weeks to get because he was getting a lot of stick for it. So there's a lot of that.
Fair enough. And maybe there would be a bit of that, but. I don't know. I think it would be interesting because let's face it, people do it anyway. All you have to do is access one on your computer and one on your phone when you're away from the house, and they can't trace it. We
just need a different email account. Really,
apparently. Well, yeah.
I've got 15 different Gmail accounts, so I could have 15 different teams if I really want. I mean, I'm not that sad that I actually would have 15 different teams, but I could do.
You could do, but I think it would be quite good because you could do challenges like. There's one I've seen going around the last couple of days, the 30 million in the bank challenge, where you can have whatever team you want, but you've got to have 30 million in the bank.
Right.
And that's a fun way to play the game. And there's some of them, the anti-FPL, where I think you've got to have a full team of players, but it's about getting the lowest score and you've got to spend as much money as possible or something. I don't know. But like these are good ways to play the game, but you should be able to have 2 teams because then you've just got that freedom.
Yeah, you can do something a bit different. Yeah. Okay. So last question here. A massive FPL expert here, former top 10K, in the top 10K now. I'd be missing out if I didn't ask for your general tips, and I'm talking about general advice, not this season or this game week. What would you advise someone in terms of how to become a better FPL player?
To me, from what my experiences of being a bad player and changing my strategy, I think the avenue to success it's all about minimizing risk. People think this game is about taking risks and taking chances, but it's not because everybody else takes risks. So it's you want your proven players, you want your 90-minute men. Like it's all common sense stuff. If they're on penalties, like Chris Wood's having a great season. At time of recording, and he plays 90 minutes. He takes penalties. You know what you're going to get every week. He's not a glamorous pick, but he does the business, and that's the sort of players you need. Like it's exciting to have like a Diogo Jota or Brennan Johnson, but these players won't do it consistently.
No.
Whereas an Umbumo will. So that obviously, like. You want to minimise the risks you take. I'm not saying don't take any risks because if you want to achieve, you're going to have to take them at the right times. But it is about timing them. If you're taking, the more risks you take, the more failure you're setting yourself up for.
I think people say if you want to win FPL, you're going to have to take risks. If you want to have a good overall rank history, you probably want to be a bit boring.
Well, how many of them people have ever won the game?
Well, just when you look, I think that's why a lot of the times the players that win it don't have such good seasons. It's because they are risky managers, and then that gets that gets them like, you know, over the line. Like, you know, I think the guy last season who won by like 50 points ahead of second or something stupid like that, because he must have been so differential. You know what I mean? But
maybe. But then at the same time, who's going to win it this season? Someone that's captain Salah every week. You would say.
Probably, yeah.
So, I would imagine so. You're not going to get somebody that's betted against Salah every week. You know, I'll go Isak this week, and then I'll go Palmer next week.
Yeah,
and then maybe
not completely crazy. Not completely crazy. Yeah.
No, it's about timing. You know, it's like football. You can't play that kind of gegenpress, heavy metal, high tempo pressing the whole match. You've got to pick and choose. You know, 5-10 minute windows in the match where you can overwhelm and get the ball, get the goal, and then, you know, sit back a little bit and absorb a bit of pressure while you recover before you go again. And it's a bit like that. One thing I would say is, if you are on a 50-50 decision and it's a coin toss, you don't know what to do, is to go with the one that'll hurt you the most if you get it wrong.
Okay.
So, like, I don't know if people do that, but if it's like, do I go with Salah or do I go with Isak for captain? I don't know what to do. Well, if you don't know what to do, go with Salah, because if you get it wrong, then you're not going to get damaged as much in the rankings as if you went with Isak. But if you're sure Isak's going to do it, then go for it. This is about, like you say, you have to take the risk sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you're sure this is the one, go for it. But if you're not sure, why take the risk? Because you're just going to feel bad if you get it wrong. Another one, obviously, the usual, you know, minimise the external noise when you're making the decision, because, you know, too many voices, you're just going to end up questioning everything you do. What I like to do is I set my team and I have my plan in mind, and then I spend the rest of the week kind of like probing at it. Excuse me, I keep burping. So, like, if I think I'm going to start a defender over a different defender, I'll spend the rest of the week, right, is this the right choice? What reason have I got to make it the other choice? You know, maybe I'll put out a tweet. Who would you start out of these two? And then I'll see the arguments. And then most of the time I go with the one I would already gone with, because it's what my feeling tells me. And because if I'm convinced to go against my gut feeling, I always feel worse if it goes wrong.
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
Another piece of advice I would say, which is one that a lot of people probably would disagree with, but the biggest differential in the game would be to go full template. Because people say, you can't go full template. How are you going to get anywhere? But who goes full template? Nobody. They always think, I'll find a couple of differentials. Maybe I'll go for, you know, Cunha instead of Pedro, or maybe I'll go for Mateta rather than Chris Wood. You know, they always try and find we'll go 8 or 9 template players, and then we'll find them 2 or 3 differentials. But if you go full template, everybody else is going to have a different team. But yours is probably going to cause you the least damage if it goes wrong, because most of the people will have it. Now, it's not really a strategy I go for, because I'm very biased towards Newcastle, you know. If as soon as one of them shows a hint of promise, they're in my team.
Okay, interesting. Because I'm very not affected by. I mean, I've had Isak in this season, but I've had a love-hate. I went on Radio 4 and talk about my research and stuff, and I recommended Isak. He had a terrible start to the season. Then he had a bit of form. I bought him in. That's when he got injured.
Yeah.
And then I sold him again, and then he went on this bloody amazing route. So I'm having, but I don't think I've had anyone else apart from Isak in this season. I mean, Gordon was good last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was good last year. I've got him now. He's done all right last couple of weeks, but nothing spectacular yet. But this is a piece of advice that ties into Isak, because I didn't sell him when he got the injury and I wanted to because of the price changes. And I thought, no, I've said I'm going to wait to the deadlines. I brought in players early before, like I brought in Joao Pedro, and then he got injured on international duty. I brought in Trent, and then his game was called off for the Storm. Although that was actually after that match. But I thought I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until the deadline, and then the deadline came, and it was like, oh, Isak's probably going to be fit, and then it's like, well, even then it's Liverpool. But then I'm like. And you see this a lot. People say, oh, they're playing Liverpool or they're playing Arsenal or they're playing whoever. You should get rid of them. And it's like, well, for a lot of players, those matches are easier because they're the teams that leave space for them to attack.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at Anthony Gordon and Isak, for example, they've got a lot of goals against the top teams because Newcastle find it harder to break down teams that sit back and put 10 men behind the ball. The chances there are more limited than, when we've got Newcastle have got our three pacey, we've got Murphy, Isak and Gordon, pace, bombing on. And then they've got that space to attack, and that's when they're at the most dangerous. And I think Joao Pedro this season, if you look at who he scored against, it's all the big teams, and then people bring them in for the small, the less strong teams, and then the blank, and they get frustrated. And it's like, well, these are the teams that sit back. I think Heung-min Son traditionally has been a lot like that as well. Like, he's always done well against Man City.
Yeah, he always gets a few hat-tricks, I think, didn't he? At least he had. He did in the Champions League, got one. I'm sure he did.
Yeah. So I think, so back to the point, delaying until the deadline, it does help because you have that little bit more information. Like, oh, well, Isak's fit, so I might as well keep him because, but also sometimes if you're priced out of a player, it can help,
Yeah.
Because you go for a different option and it turns out to be a better one.
Yeah, I made a video about deadline streams, and I think I said in that video, like, sometimes waiting, I don't watch that many deadline streams, but I wait until the end, and then, no, this is what I was going to say, sorry, I'm getting confused. If I act on what's in the deadline stream, like, Saka's not starting, so I take Saka out, more often than not, even if that information is correct, the original decision I was going to make would have got me more points anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how this ties into what you were saying, to be honest.
No, well, it can have that. Like, you have to be careful with like leaks and stuff in case they are wrong. But I just think there's a reason all your favorite FPL content creators leave the decisions until as late as possible. Yeah. And it's not just to hype up their own deadline streams. It's because, like the Liverpool match that was called off by a storm, I brought in Trent Alexander-Arnold 2 days earlier. What an idiot, Would I have brought him in if I'd have waited? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But then he went and scored a goal a couple of weeks later. So, it did kind of work out for the best in the end. But
yeah, he got about 15 points last week, didn't he? Any other bits of advice, Andrew, before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say patience. Give players patience, because if you're bringing them in for one game week in the blank and you're kicking them out, it's just stupid. It's like we were saying about the content creation. You've got to give it a time to. These are players that'll score 50 points in 6 weeks. It doesn't mean they're going to get, 20 of them in the first week.
Bruno was ultimate one this year, and he didn't do it.
Well,
and then he's gone on. He did brilliantly for about 4 or 5 weeks, didn't he?
He did, and then he went and got his red card.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also when signing players, which ties in a bit, what I would say, which I'm not sure a lot of people do, ask yourself, if this player blanks in this week, do I still want him? Like, if you're bringing in someone because they're playing Southampton, what happens if they don't get a point? Do you still want them for the next week or the week after or for the longer term? I think that's something worth asking. If they get 2 points in this week, do I still want them? And if the answer's no, then don't bring them in. I would always say plan for perfection, in the sense that you want your players, like now I'm planning for like to wildcard around game week 30, sometime around there. So when I'm looking at a player, I'm looking at, can I keep them till game week 30? And I'm not saying I will. Maybe I'll bring in someone and sell him in a couple of weeks. But what if another problem arises? What if I get 2 injuries and I need to use my transfers there? Can I keep this player until that time? And I always think that's sensible. I just think it's sensible play. Like, these short-term players, they can have big impacts, but over, like I say, it's about judging over a period of time. To tie back into what I was saying about Isaac and Pedro and Son, big players are big players because they perform in big games. So don't be scared to play them against the top teams, because those are the games that they've cemented the reputation as a big player. Like, I think Gabriel this season, didn't he score against Man City or something?
Yeah.
You know, the best players produce in the biggest games. So if you've got them, don't panic with them. And to go back to that video you mentioned, my final piece of advice is to remember that this season is your warm-up season. It's next season that you're going to win the FPL and you're going to hit that world number 1. So remember to use this season to get your strategy nailed, to take your risks in your gambles, and get yourself ready for next August. This is like an extended pre-season ahead of your push for the world number 1 spot. And if it goes wrong next season, just tell yourself the same again.
Awesome, Andy. I think that's a good way, good place to leave it on. Is there anything you wanted to say? Do you want to show us the book one more time before we finish off?
Right. Well, I won't go and get my FPL Nightmare books, because I always flash them up in my videos. But yeah, this is Dancing with Disorder, which is about my life and my mental health, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot funnier than you probably imagine, and it's quite real as well. I would say there's not a lot of books that talk about mental health the way I talk about mental health. I'll probably give you a bit of a hint about that before, but if you watch my videos, there you go. Buy me FPL books as well, just to boost my ego a bit. Watch my videos. Watch Gary's videos. I especially recommend, he's mentioned the one with Yelena a couple of times. Very good, very enjoyable conversation. I enjoyed the one with The Form is Temporary podcast.
Roberto. Roberto.
Yeah, really enjoyed that.
Watched the full.
Yeah, I watched the full 2.5 hours of that over 2 sittings, and yeah, I mean, especially if you're interested in like what goes into making videos and stuff. I don't know. For me, that podcast was a dream, and I'm going to give his podcast. I haven't watched his podcast before, but I'm going to give it a chance.
Yeah, it's good. He's always got like a special big name guest as well. I think I'm going on.
Yeah,
and I'm on in February, so sometimes not a big name guest.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, the other video I was going to recommend is the one with Joe. It's Joe Lepper.
Yeah.
Your video with him.
Fantasy football scout.
Oh man, fantastic video. What a 90 minutes, I think. What a story. And he's talking about his stalkers and all that sort of stuff. But also, like, when he's talking about FPL, like, he's one of the originals.
I know, that was so exciting to do, because he is an old school hero, like the first voices.
Yeah. Really good podcast. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, go and watch Joe's podcast with Gary, and then watch Roberto's and Yelena's, and you'll have a good time. And give these other content creators a chance, Let's Talk Andy's got enough views. Give them to me. Or to Yelena, or to Roberto. The Form is Temporary.
Yep. Sorry, Michael.
No, I'm just rambling a bit now. Trying to get me shout outs in there.
Yeah, I highly recommend.
Hello, Mum.
All right, awesome. So thanks so much for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think especially talking about the mental health stuff. You know, us blokes don't talk enough about that sort of stuff, do we? But
yeah, well, I mean, I will just say, you know, if you, I'll repeat the Samaritan's phone number. It's 116-123, and you can ring that at any time, and there'll be someone there. You might have a wait if it's a busy time, but they're always there. There's always someone that'll listen, and you know, it doesn't matter how stupid you think your problem is. They don't think it's stupid. They see the struggles that you're having, and they're here to listen. So, you know, and that's not an FPL thing, that's just a general life thing.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, make sure to subscribe to not only my channel, which is FPL Nightmare, but to Gary's channel, FPL Have a Beer, and then you'll get plenty of quality entertainment from two of the new school of FPL.
Yeah, the second or third wave. All right, yeah, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Please do like and subscribe. Do check out Andrew's channel, FPL Nightmare, which I will link in the description. And do consider buying his books. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.